This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, January 3rd, 2003, more than 2 decades ago, one of the greatest national championship games in the old era of doing national championship had happened. It was Ohio State and Miami, both teams a combined 25 and donut in the regular season. Miami was really favored. I mean, Miami had a gigantic 34-game winning streak. Practically, they hadn't lost a game in 3 years if you want to take the 11 games per year thing. So anyway, there was a huge background and all that to the game. Unfortunately, the Fiesta Bowl would be one of the biggest controversies ever and all that. So Miami had been the national champion. They crushed Nebraska in Divine Powder at the Rose Bowl the previous year and came into the Fiesta Bowl with a 34-game winning streak. Ohio State hadn't won a championship, a national title game since 1970. And, they were getting back. They had chances in the 90s to do something about it, including 97. They ruined Arizona State's chances in the national championship, and they had their own chances, but Michigan would stop them at few opportunities. So Ohio State did the power of football, emphasizing running and defense. Miami used their skill position players to overwhelm people. Miami was given 11-point favorites. All that. Ohio State lost the Outback Bowl the previous year, and Jim Tressel, this was his second year. After beating Washington State, a top 10 team, Ohio State used their strong defense and surprising offense to beat 13 and donut. Maurice Clarett was a good running back as a freshman. He was the rushing guy. Craig Krenzel was the quarterback with Michael Jenkins and Chris Gamble, good receivers. They actually only won 6 games. 6 of their 13 wins were by 7 points or fewer, so it was huge. They actually nearly lost to Cincinnati, who ended up being 7-7. They only won by 4, and they only beat Purdue by 4 points on a last-second Holy Buckeye play. And they needed overtime to beat Illinois, who were actually 5-7. Ohio State beat Michigan. Of course, it's Ohio State, Michigan. What do you expect? They almost got things and all that. However, Miami had a 34-game winning streak. They had some great players, future NFL players, such as Willis McGahee, Ken Dorsey, Andre Johnson, Kellen Winslow Jr., Jonathan Filma, Jerome McDougal, Antonio Roll, Roscoe Paris, and the late Sean Taylor. Their offensive line did well, too. And it was good. They had a pair of lucky wins, actually. Miami beat Florida State because Florida State went wide left. And Miami actually was trailing Rutgers, who only won 1 game that year. A lot of people said that the game could be competitive. So anyway, this was big at the Fiesta Bowl in Tempe. Miami won the coin toss and decided to defer. So Ohio State got the ball and went 3 and out. During the first chance, Miami got sacked, and they had to punt themselves. Miami had a great play as Dorsey threw a nice pass to Kellen Winslow Jr. and then would throw to Parrish for a 25-yard touchdown catch. Miami was up 7-0. So anyway, Miami couldn't do anything with the ball. It was 7-0 for those pesky Hurricanes. So anyway, in the second quarter, Ohio State got the ball to the 2-yard line. And Craig Krenzel on 4th down ran the ball in from the 2 for a touchdown. Mike Nugent kicked the extra point, or tied, 7-7. Oh, by the way, Todd Severs was the Miami kicker, if you must know. So anyway, Ohio State was up 14-7 after a fumble by Ken Dorsey. Maurice Clarett ran for the touchdown, and the Buckeyes were up 14-7. So anyway, Ohio State was up 14-7, and people thought Miami will come back in the second half. Miami had the ball, and Craig Krenzel threw an interception to Sean Taylor, but Maurice Clarett, the running back, came in and forced Taylor to fumble, and he recovered the ball. Ohio State did kick the field goal with Nugent, 17-7. So anyway, after a key play from Miami and Dorsey, he gave the ball to Willis McGahee for a touchdown, and the Buckeyes' lead was only 17-14. So that was it for the third quarter. The fourth quarter went huge. Willis McGahee had a good 9-yard run. Unfortunately, though, that 9-yard run would be costly, as Will Allen, future NFLer, made a crushing hit on a shoulder-leading hit by Will Allen. The tackle ruptured all 3 ligaments, the ACL, the PCL, and the MCL, in Willis McGahee's left knee, meaning that his career was in doubt. And, when you have like an ACL injury, it's almost the kiss of death, if you will, because your knees have to really recover. Fortunately for McGahee, he actually did play in the NFL and had a decent career. Despite all that, Miami had a chance for a 54-yard field goal, but Severs went wide right, or the Buffalo as I call it, and Ohio State covered on downs. Mike Nugent went for a field goal and missed, so Miami would take the ball over. Jared Payton, Walter Payton's son, did well running the ball because, obviously, with no McGahee, they had to find something else. Miami had a chance as Parrish had the ball for a 34-yard conversion, but he fumbled the ball, and Ohio State recovered. So, anyway, they were weird and all that. There was a controversy to see if Chris Campbell made a catch in bounds. It was seemingly held. There should have been a Miami penalty, but it wasn't. The Buckeyes had to punt. So anyway, there was only 2 minutes left. And Miami did something. They had a 4th and 7. Great job by Lamar Parrish to run the ball 50 yards for the play. So anyway, on 4th and 7 with 3 seconds left, Severs had to kick a 40-yard field goal for the tie and to go to overtime. Ohio State tried to ice the kicker, and then Ohio State used its last timeout to further rally Severs in a time that you were allowed to call back-to-back timeouts. Despite all that, Severs kicked the 40-yard field goal, tied the game. We are going to overtime in the national championship game. And in college at that time, both teams got 1 possession of the ball. The game could be over on a touchdown, but, well, if one team scores a touchdown, the other team has to score a touchdown to keep the game going. Anything else, game over. If the first team kicks a field goal and the second team gets a touchdown, that team wins. But if that second team gets a field goal, it is a tie and we go to double overtime. So anyway, Ohio State won the toss and decided to play defense, meaning that they would force Miami to play and then know what they needed. Miami got a pass from Ken Dorsey to Andre Johnson to make it 3rd and 1. Jared Payton ran for 8 yards to give Miami a first down at the 8, and then Dorsey to Kellen Winslow Jr., touchdown Miami. Miami was up 24-17. The Bucks had to score a touchdown to keep the game alive. So on their play, there was a 4th and 14, and it looked like game over. However, Krenzel threw a pass to Michael Jenkins for 17 yards, and it's a first down. Anyway, Krenzel threw a pass on 4th and 3. He threw a pass to Gamble, but the ball bounced off Gamble's hands. Incomplete. Game over. Miami will be your national champions for the 2nd straight year. But somehow, some way, the field judge threw a late flag in the end zone. If you look at the TV replays and all that, that flag looks a little too late for people's liking. It should have been like a 5-count. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4 potato, 5 potato. No flag, game over. And then there's the flag. Probably was 3 potatoes. Unfortunately, though, it was a defensive pass interference call on Glenn Sharp. And it looked questionable. It looked ticky-tacky, if anything. Ohio State got the ball at the 2 for automatic first down, and then Krenzel ran for the touchdown. They went for the extra point instead of going for 2. Tie the game. We go to double overtime. Ohio State got the ball first, and some running and some passing worked out. Maurice Claret, 5-yard touchdown. OSU took the lead 31-24. Now Miami knew they had to score a touchdown to do something. Unfortunately, they were in a 4th and 3, but fortunately Dorsey threw to Kellen Winslow for the 7-yard play, first down. There was a penalty on Ohio State, making it 1st and 5 at the 6, so Miami should have done something. Ken Dorsey threw the end zone, Andre Johnson missed. Pass interference, Miami got first and goal at the 2, so it looked like Miami was going to take over and just run it in for a touchdown. And then maybe that pass interference call would be all for naught. Unfortunately, it was a 4th and goal at the 1, and he decided to throw a pass. Ken Dorsey did. Incomplete game set match. Ohio State shocks the world 31-24, and their first true national championship since 1968. It was just unbelievable. So Ohio State gave up the lead only once, and that was in overtime. But still, Roscoe Parrish doing his job. Ohio State winning the game 31-24. The amount of future NFL talent was huge. 40 of the 43 players who started in this game, well, Chris Gamble was a two-way player playing offense and defense. 37 of them were NFL draft picks, including 18 first-round picks, and 12 of them were Hurricanes. 58 players went on to play in the NFL of the 100 players in that game. Of course, that scrutiny was the whole pass interference called against Miami that would have won the game for Miami in the first overtime. It was huge. And all of that. There could have been defensive holding and all that, but anyway, it doesn't matter. There was a line angle and all that. There was a delay of several seconds. I mean, the delay was huge. I mean, if you think it's a flag, throw it. It was signaled for defensive holding, but it was pass interference. It was just unbelievable and all that. So anyway, it was weird and all that. They were not doing all that. A lot of people said that I've never seen a flag flung so flagrantly late. Yeah, like it was. That's the problem and all that. A lot of teams were upset with that. Officials make the calls. There were people who were defensive. And a lot of popular opinion said that they also screwed up. But the fact of the matter is, it was a great championship game. Ohio State got the national championship game, and Miami should never have put themselves in the position to give up that terrible play. That's just the way it goes sometimes, guys, is that, you don't like it, you can lump it. And lump it in with one of the worst calls in college football history. Unfortunately, Miami has had some great chances to be national title contenders, but they have fumbled at many opportunities. Injuries and bad games. And let's not forget, this past season, deciding to run the ball instead of kneeling down and then losing their 7-0 perfect mark. So, yeah, Ohio State came back in this sense and became a decent team in the 2010s and 20s. And fight me on that. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond Ado.